Welcome, everybody, to the new season, the new episode of D-Town TV, the free show for DSLR shooters. My name is RC, and I am here with the man, the myth, the legend.
Hola.
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 The Spanish man,
Yes.
Mateo. What's going on, homie? How you doing?
I thought you were going to say something Spanish. Like, oh, crap.
Like, oh, buenos días, ¿cómo
Hola
estás?
is about as deep as I go when it comes to Spanish.
Esas eran las 6 semanas que estábamos afuera, y ahora regresamos
Sí.
con un nuevo episodio.
Sí.
See? Look at that. He's good, dude. He's all set. Anyway, so I'm here with Matt Klaskowski, and
Brand new season.
yeah, I'm excited
Brand new.
about it. I'm excited.
How long have we been away?
6 weeks,
Holy
I want to
crap,
say,
that's long.
maybe
We took
more.
way too long of a break.
It's one of those things where it's like, you knew that it was long when people on Google Plus was like, I would type something, and people would be like, dude, when's D-Town coming back? When's D-Town coming back?
I don't know.
It's back.
It's back.
It's back.
We promise we won't go away that long again for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was just a weird confluence of different things. It was just like photos, you know, like that? Confluence?
Is that a word?
Yeah.
Confluence.
Confluence. It's when a whole bunch of things come together.
When they fluence.
They fluence in together. But anyway, it was just a bunch of different things with, you know, with all the stuff with Lightroom, with Photoshop, with all the CS6 things that came out. It's been
Oh
crazy.
gosh, it's been crazy. You know, I mean, and you know, part of what we do is you know, we work for the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. So when Photoshop Lightroom come out and Photoshop CS6 comes out, it really doesn't get any bigger for us as an organization than those weeks. So it's pretty cool stuff.
Right, and so we had to do a whole bunch of classes, and we're doing classes on Kelly training and things like that.
Yeah.
So we have something like 8 classes on Photoshop stuff. So it's a busy time. Make sure you take a look at that. Now, a couple of things, housekeeping notes. I'm chatting with people here on Google+, but all of these shows, every couple of weeks, we're going to be airing these things on air. So if you are just stumbling onto this, right, through the download, through iTunes, through YouTube, and things like that, make sure that you keep in mind that every couple of weeks, you might want to go to kelbytv.com/on-air. All of our shows are going to be recorded live. We're probably going to be recording 2 weeks out. So you'll see one show, you'll see a break, and you'll see a second show. So make sure you stop in.
You can kind of get like a 2-week fill in one day.
Yeah, at that one spot.
But that means you're not going to see another show for 2 weeks.
Right. So
No.
make sure you check into most
Which could
of
be
those
hard
things.
for you. I mean, it'd be hard not to see us for 2 weeks. I wouldn't blame you if you had to spread that time out because.
To get the little nuggets, you know.
Oh gosh, they're like, please get on with the tip, do something.
Do something. But anyway, so that's one thing. The other thing that I wanted to make sure that we point out is a Photoshop World. There's a couple of conferences that are coming up, you know, in a couple of months. In 2 weeks, we're going to the Google Plus Photographers Conference.
We'll be
so
there.
if you haven't taken a look at that, make sure that you go to G Plus PC, so gpluspc.com. It's the Google Plus Photographers Conference in San Francisco.
Hey, can we give away a ticket?
Yeah.
Can we?
Yeah, if you
Well,
want.
post
now.
a comment to the show.
All right. Yeah, post a
a
comment on
comment.
the Google Plus page if you guys want.
On the Kelby TV D-Town.
Oh, you want to post it over there? Okay, I was gonna have it do it just right on the Google Plus, but no. The Kelby TV D-Town thing works.
Yeah, we'll
That'll
figure
work.
this out, yeah,
That'll
but-
work. So at the end of the show, we'll figure that out. But
We'll have a way for you to post a comment. But yeah,
if
let's
you
give
guys
away
wanna,
a ticket.
yeah, if you guys want to go, cool.
If you're in the San Francisco area, or you can be that week, then
Come and hang out. Come and hang out with me. I'm doing a photo walk in Chinatown. Or
Come
hang
and
out
hang
with
with
him.
me. I'm doing a photo walk too.
So there's tons of different things.
RC picked my location.
Hey, I thought it was a good location.
It is a good location. It'll be fun. We'll have a good time.
So, all right, anyway.
I got ideas.
He's got ideas. All right. So anyway, let me get to my tip real quick. Somebody was asking about focus distance. They were talking about the concept of focus distance. And basically the way it came out was somebody had said, I have my camera and I'm trying to take a picture of the subject and I'm right here. And I'm trying to do a picture, and I'm trying to do a picture. And something would happen, and in the process of them trying to do a picture, it wouldn't work. And they're like, why doesn't my lens focus? Why doesn't my lens focus? And I'm like, I don't know if it's necessarily your lens. You need to understand that your lenses have a minimum amount of distance that you use to focus. So what'll happen is, sometimes, you know, at a certain millimeter, it'll be a certain space apart. If you go longer, it'll be at a even further and further space apart. So if you are shorter than that minimal distance, you're not going to be able to focus. You're just going to hear when it's trying to focus. If you need to focus at a much closer distance than that, then what you need to do is you need to take a look at a macro lens, and that's what macros do.
Boy, that macro lens looks familiar, RC.
Oh my goodness, this thing is amazing.
I haven't seen that thing in a month.
I know. I took Matt's lens, and I was like, hey Matt, can I borrow that macro lens real quick? So this is the 105 macro, and it doesn't matter really, Canon, Nikon,
lens.
or whatever. It is a great lens.
I haven't loved it in a month, but overall, I love that lens.
He loves it a long time.
Oddly enough, for portraits.
Really? I see.
It's a
I
great portrait. Oh my gosh, it's a great portrait lens. First off, it's a fixed focal length.
Right.
So they're typically sharper than your zoom lenses, and it's got a beautiful I hate to use this word, bokeh. But let's just call it background blur, because I hate to say the word bokeh, because then everybody says it's bokeh, it's this, that. It depends how you feel that day. But it's got a great background blur. It's a wonderful lens.
And that's the thing. It's like a lot of the times I think people see 85-1.4 or 70-200 for a portrait. I like using the 70-200.
I love that lens
racked
for
out.
portrait. Yeah.
Right. So if you shoot at 200, it makes a great portrait.
I got to shoot later today. That's all I'm going to bring.
Really?
70-200.
Compression and things like that. But now look, so a macro lens. So once you have a macro lens, you can take a macro lens and bring it really, really close to a person, and not that.
I know.
So you can get it much, much closer to a person and actually produce really, really tight shots. So that's where you would use the difference of it. And I think we're going to talk a little bit more about macro this season, because we keep getting people go macro, 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 macro.
Yeah.
So we will talk about that. But I did want to talk that at the end of the day, if you want to take a look at whether or not it's the focus or it's the camera or any of that stuff, start backing out. Back out, back out, back out, back out. And if it locks, then you go, oh, you know what? I'm too close to my focus distance, and that's probably what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, I have another tip for you. Actually, I don't have another tip for you. Lindsay Adler has another tip for you. Make sure you take a look at this one.
Right now, I'm going to show you a couple tips for beauty photography. One thing that makes it kind of easy is starting with a beautiful person. So that is definitely something that will make your photographs better. But one thing that people try to do in beauty photography a lot of times is give a lot of illumination. You'll see this a lot in what people call clamshell lighting. And usually what you'll see is kind of a light on top and a fill light on the bottom. But I have kind of a twist on that technique. So first I'm going to start with one softbox. And with this one softbox, it gives you kind of shape to the face. It's going to be illuminating this side of the face, and it kind of just wraps around. By using a softbox, it's really, well, soft light. It's going to be very flattering. The most forgiving type of light is even soft lighting. That's why it's used so much in beauty photography. So in this instance, you have the softbox here, and I have my camera set at 1/60th of a second at f11. So that's where I'm starting with my aperture. So the first shot I'm going to take is going to be a little bit more dramatic. It's not going to be as soft. Okay, good. And give me really big eyes. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in and I'm just going to move this, if you don't mind, center a little bit more, so just a little straighter. What I like to do when I'm working with models, a lot of times if I can get them to sit up straight and push their shoulders down, it makes their neck look longer. And in beauty photography, the longer neck you have, the more flattering it is to the person. So I have people sit up straight, push their shoulders down, elongate their neck. So that's great. Let me take another shot. Perfect. And put your head straight on so we can compare. Good. All right, so looking at this shot, it's soft light, but it's shadowed on that right side of the face. Well, I think I want to go for something a little bit more glowing, a little bit more light. It's just something that's brighter. Kind of gives a happier feel. Looks a little bit more like beauty photography. So I'm going to bring in my assistant. And we're going to add a little bit of fill to the right side of the face. So I'm going to have you come up a little bit. One tip for adding fill. If you have a reflector, you don't want to put it too low, because what it's going to do, it's going to put that fill highlight on the bottom side of the face instead of kind of evenly. So I'm going to have her hold it up a little higher, just like she's doing. That's perfect, and it's just going to give a little bit of fill. So have you face straight forward again. Perfect. Okay. So at that distance, it gives it a little bit of fill. If I want even more, I can bring you in even more. Perfect. And so what it does, it just fills in a little bit of the shadow side of the face. A lot of times what I'll do too is I have one assistant, or I have nobody. I'll stick the reflector on a stand, but a lot of times I actually have the model help me out. So I'm going to grab another reflector and have her hold it underneath her chin. So that's going to fill in more light. What I'm doing here is I'm basically slowly eliminating shadows. That's something that you see a lot in beauty photography. So gotten a little bit of the shadow gone over here. I'm going to add a reflector underneath, and I'm just going to have you hold it. So what that's going to do is going to make the photo a little bit lighter because it's going to fill in underneath. Perfect. Take a look. Again, had my one light. I filled it in a little bit from the right. I filled it in a little bit from underneath. But with the light over here to the side, you're still going to have shadow. I have two options. I can move it in the front, and that gives you front light. Okay, it's nice, but I want to try something that's going to give me some cool catch lights, something really, really different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do basically what I call sideways clamshell. I'm going to put two softboxes in the front and kind of sandwich her in between it, and it's going to make a really beautiful effect. When you're doing this effect, there's a couple things you want to keep in mind. You're going to see two very distinct catch lights in the eyes, and in my opinion, it looks best when they're pretty much even. This is just something that I like. You feel free to try out different combinations of light, but if you want those catch lights to look even, you want to have two similar sized soft boxes. So here, they're about the same size. You want them to be about the same height and about the same distance from the model. So what that'll do is it'll give you two evenly lit sides of the face, two relatively even sized catch lights. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use both these lights. I don't think I need this anymore. And this is going to create my clamshell. So it's going to do sideways clamshell. Okay, beautiful. And good. Perfect. So what it does is it gives you two really distinct catch lights where it kind of sandwiches her pupil in between it. It gives you really nice even light. The picture gets brighter because, again, you introduce more light. So you might have to shut down a little bit. If you were at f11, you might need to shut down to f16. You can make that call. I don't have any light on the background, but some light spilling over. So if you look to the naked eye, it looks white. But because there's much more light on the face and not much light hitting the background, it turns out a really pleasing gray. So what I like in that instance is she has lighter colored hair. So it stands out against the slightly darker background. And then I have this beautiful glowing illumination on the face. So what I did here, just to recap a little bit, I started off with one light that wrapped around the face. It was a little bit more dramatic. I added in a fill light, trying to reduce some of those shadows. I want it to be a little lighter, a little airier. Added another reflector underneath, so again, just kind of getting rid of the shadows. But what I really wanted was beautiful glowing light, so I added a second softbox, equal size, equal distance to the model, equal height, and it gives you two beautiful catch lights. And so this is kind of a variation on the typical clamshell technique that you usually see where the two softboxes or two light sources are lined up vertically.
All right, well, thank you very much, Lindsay. We had her in the studio a while ago, and she actually has a brand new class up on kelbytraining.com. So great class. I mean, if you just watch the trailer for the class and you see the photos, it makes you want to go take the class. So you can find it over on kelbytraining.com. That said, we got a quick break. We'll see you back here in just a minute.
Fashion, lighting. I'm obsessed with red. Red is arresting, it's eye-catching. People can go anywhere for beautiful headshots, nice portraits. But what I like to do is give them something a little more. Have a concept. I like to tell a story. As a professional portrait and fashion photographer, I like to take the elements of fashion photography and apply them to my portrait and wedding work. We'll cover locations, props, hair and makeup, just a lot of different elements that you can apply to your work and really stand out from the crowd. Fashion flair is not ordinary, it's exciting. So come watch my class, Fashion Flair, at kelbytraining.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to D-Town TV, the season opener, the free show for DSLR shooters. My name is RC, here with Matt.
Hey, everybody.
Glad you guys are still here. You have a tip for us.
I do.
Tell us about your
Very
tip.
quick, simple tip. So I wanted to, if we can pull up a picture on screen here, and I can talk a little bit about it. This is something that I learned this years and years ago, and it's kind of interesting because I think as photographers, we always hear sunrise and sunset, the magic hour, and I think when it comes to nature and landscape, that's definitely true. You can point your camera in almost any direction and get great photos. And I remember when I was first starting, and I was starting to go to take pictures of people. And I'm thinking, okay, sunset, great time. and you have people look at the sun because you're thinking, well, that's what the good light is, right? It's the sun. It's the sun's going down, so I should have them look at the sun. And they get like orange faces, and it's very, very contrasty. I mean, because the sun's still really bright. So I had a hard time with that when I first started shooting.
All your portraits look like this.
Yeah, everybody was kind of squinted a little bit, and like I said, still very contrasty light. Even though the sun's going down, it's still extremely contrasty on their face. And then years ago, one of the tips that I learned was, when you're shooting like that, you actually don't want the person typically looking at the sun. You want the person between, so you're the photographer, you want the person between the sun and you. And that way, the sun almost serves, it kind of, if you look at, we can pull the photo back up on screen here, but you can see the sun is behind them. And it almost kind of gives that hair light, you know, it gives that separation.
You get a rim light right around the entire thing.
Yeah, and it gives that separation between them and the background, which is typically a lot of what we do in the studio with strobes. I mean, we're trying to get that separation between the person and their background. So that's I guess that's really the main tip here, is if you're out there, position the person between you and the sun. Now, when you take your first photo, the side tip to this is, a lot of times you may look at their faces and they may be dark. So you may need to go into your exposure compensation, bump it up by a third, maybe even a full stop. I mean, it just really depends, but you may need to go into your exposure compensation, bump that up a little bit. Sometimes I'm actually okay if the highlights blow out a little bit in the background. Right. It is the sun. It's on the back of their hair. It
People
looks
expect,
okay.
yeah, people expect to have that, and I think that sometimes people get overly critical about whether or not they blow out a highlight. I mean, it's like, you're going to blow out a highlight. You're going to blow out. You're always going to blow out sun reflecting on chrome. You're always going to blow out the direct sun. That's going to happen.
As long as the skin looks good. That's really your whole goal in that whole thing. So next time you're out there and you're taking pictures of people and it's close to sunset. This could be, you know, let's say sunset's at 8 o'clock. I mean, this could be from 6 o'clock on, as long as the sun is low. You can do it you can do it all the way when the sun's high. You don't want it right overhead because it's going to give you really bad shadows. But as long as the sun is fairly low, you can still do this. The earlier in the afternoon it is, the brighter that light's going to be, the harder it's going to be to keep from blowing out. But as long as the sun's back behind them, you can get some really cool shots with it.
I usually tell people, like, have like a really, really big reflector, because it's like a lot of the times when even though that sun is low, the contrasting is, I mean, it is still a small light source.
Yeah.
So usually, like, if you want to fill in, if you fill in, you have a person here, you have a sun, and then you fill the light back in, that light's going to be usually a little bit softer. So it's another thing to keep in mind. But I just think it's funny because people are like, oh, well, you know, the sun thing. And I'm like, you can't underexpose so that you can see the happy face in the sun. It's just not going to show up, dude. It's just not going to show up.
It doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen. But anyway, prizes. So what do? We want you to go to some websites, right? So we want you to go to kelbytv.com/DTown TV. Now, we know that you're watching live. We know that you're watching on Google+. We know that you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching from all of these places, the only place for us to actually capture all of this stuff is on this website, right? Because we can't have our producer going to like 15 different areas. So we want you to come in here and tell us something. You don't have to tell us you guys are awesome. You could give us
Although that
idea.
helps.
That may or may not help. But if you have an idea for the show, if you want to talk to us about a technique, if you have a question, that would be a good place for you to be able to leave it. I mean, we want to be able to answer your questions. Yeah. So our producer's going to randomly pick somebody. That's where you're going to go to be able to fill in for the D-Town conference. So, I mean, the Google Plus conference.
Yeah.
The giveaway that we're doing here in D-Town. So do that as well. So you're going to win. One of you guys is going to win that. Another person is going to win this.
It's from Velo. It's the FreeWave Fusion. It's a transmitter and receiver for your wireless flash. So
that's right.
Very cool stuff.
So now, that's it. Now
that's it.
You don't have
Go ahead.
wireless?
Like I said, you don't have to say we're awesome. But I can tell you this. If you say you guys suck, you're gone.
Chances
you
are
don't
you're
even
not
don't even write it because you're not going to win.
Oh, hey, so let me take a look at a couple of things.
Yeah,
so
we got a couple.
Heelmar was on here. She was saying hi.
Hi.
Stuart was saying hello. Gary was saying hello. Somebody had said, it was a good question. Stefan Bollinger jumped in. Difference between Arctic white and polar white. Arctic white usually being usually cooler than polar white. So, but Stefan already jumped in on that. He said brighter than polar, a tiny bit warmer. Stefan's a really good shooter.
Yeah.
So I like his stuff a lot.
Another quick question. So Gary Monroe said, any tricks for making sure you reduce the wear and tear on your camera mount? I'm right here between where
Right.
the lens
Right.
mounts to the camera. Keeping it like this and having it bounce up and down is a lot of wear and tear. So if you're going to carry your camera, make sure I always put it so it's back. I'll put the strap around my shoulder, and always make sure that kind of
It's aiming downwards.
aims down so that you don't have that wear and tear of that lens constantly bouncing on there. Other than that, I don't know there's a whole lot
Right.
more
I
you
mean,
can do with it.
Also, like if you have a bigger lens, if your lens has a lens foot, it has it for a reason.
Yeah.
Right, because I've seen that a lot of times, especially like on the 70-200. I've seen people shoot a 70-200 and still use this back pot.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they do that all the time. And I'm like, if you have a 70-200 lens, the 70-200 usually has a foot right here
Yep.
on the center part of it.
That's what should go on the tripod.
That's what you should do. You should take this puppy off, and you move this puppy from here to here. And then that will help you quite a bit. Other than that, I mean, I'm pretty tough
Yeah.
on, we beat these
Yeah,
things
we're-
pretty hard, and they do relatively well, so I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Cool.
But
You
anyway, photography website to take a
Oh,
look
yeah.
at. Photographer Peter James Zielinski. This is a buddy of mine. Which this is the URL here. It looks like it's pjzets.com, and this website. So this is Peter's website, and he's an actor. He's a New York actor, and I just think it's really cool. Like I hooked up with him. He was like a Nat member. We went into the city. We were doing some shoots. But he's got like this wild mix of stuff, and this was kind of what did it for me. The Mark Fisher fitness thing. He's a heck of a shooter. Like, I mean, you can tell this guy knows how to wheel the camera, but at the same time, he also does these really cool side projects like that. Yeah, let's scroll up and let's take a look at the Mark Fisher fitness. Let's see. So
Martial art one.
Yeah, the martial art one. Yeah, there. Like that was an ad campaign for a gym. And I was like, that's pretty cool, dude. And so as you can tell, he's always mixing it up.
That's funny.
He's also in a Tony Award-winning musical.
Cool.
And he's actually, he's out in Arkansas now, and he is going to Kansas City. So, good luck to you.
Check him out.
Yeah, you got to check him out. Check him out. That'll be really good.
All right,
Anyway.
that wraps us up for this week.
Yeah.
On behalf of everybody here over at Kelby Media Group, we thank you for watching. Thanks to our sponsors for sponsoring the show. That always helps as well. But my name is Matt Kliskowski.
And I'm RC, and we'll see you guys next week.